Pete, after watching it, how did Grant look? How did he do out there in the game?
He did a good job. Played very. I think you can see that from the stands. I mean, he played good. Not many balls hit the ground, so it's obvious he did a great job.
Now that he's got a game to look at and see himself playing a full game, what can he learn from that, and what kind of improvements can he make?
Well, every defense is going to be different that we go against, and some will be better than others, and he'll be tested in a completely different way this Friday. But he's taken a lot of reps around here, and he answered the bell, nicely.
Any update on Joe as far as a timetable or anything?
No, we'll know a little bit more, but we're thinking possibly around that 5-week window, but that's kind of speculation on my part.
Is he going to need surgery for that?
Yeah.
Is an ankle traditionally quicker than a knee?
It just depends on what the injury is. Yeah. If we're talking ACL, yeah, ankle's quicker. If we're talking some other things, could be about the same.
Have you talked to him? Is he in good spirits?
He is in good spirits. Yeah, he wants to get back as soon as possible. That's his whole mission.
I guess the TV broadcast said that he told him to tape it up and put him back in the game.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Does that sound like Joe?
I know he wants to play. Yeah.
Seems like whenever you guys have a lot of guys go down to injuries and you had guys step up, all season long, and you always have this carry the flag, next guy up kind of mentality. How is that? How are you guys able to do that? How are you guys able not
well,
to have
it's the reality of football, and we're pleased with our guys that have done that. It gets frustrating when you have so many of them, but it sometimes goes like that.
Is it just the depth or the system or the coaching, or how is it that when you have these next guys ready to come in and not really miss it?
Well, I think he starts with good players. It always starts with that, and those guys always do a good job of preparing and knowing, and they've seen it happen. And most everybody's getting reps, game reps that are, certainly at 2 at most positions, sometimes even 3s at the quarterback position, not so much. But our quarterbacks have always been great guys at preparation.
I know you always say the backup quarterback's one play away, but is that kind of the mentality across the board you stress with guys in practice?
Well, not only that, I don't have to say a word. They just see what's happening around here and can be ready to roll.
Does the fact that so many people have come in and performed so well show that you have more depth than, say, 8 years ago, 9 years ago? You have better players on the second and third teams than you had back then?
Well, I think that we're playing younger guys. Like I said, I'd prefer to redshirt everybody every year, but we got true freshmen that are playing for the reasons that are, what's happening to us right now. I mean, those guys, you think, maybe they're a 2/3 when fall camp starts. Well, you know how fast that changes, and so it just kind of goes back that you got to have them all ready. I mean, you get to that point. I know I have this conversation every year of 5 years of eligibility. What happens in another 2 games and guys go down in a certain position? Okay, so now we're being really student athlete friendly. Is that all about the welfare of the student athlete? Well, you got to take care of your team. And so you get that, and so you get put in some tough decisions, some tough predicaments. But if everybody just had 5 years, which Gene Blameyer been preaching forever, it would be, I think, a better system.
Is that kind of a dead issue now? The 5 years?
It kind of comes and goes. Just for some reason it just hasn't, caught enough momentum by the people that really would drive it home. But every year I just kind of shake my head and think, I don't know why we don't do this, because it comes up every year.
There wouldn't be any negatives to that, would there?
I mean, I haven't found one, and some about cost or but the plan would still be the same in terms of graduation. Like, you still want your guys to graduate 9 semesters, their senior year, the 5th year, December, and be done. And that's worked well for us, and so that wouldn't change. So I don't know.
Have you been the most vocal?
Huh?
Said it'd mess up the record.
Yeah. Well, those are being messed up enough anyways right now. So.
Have you been the most vocal pushing towards that, or is there another coach leading the charge?
No, I really haven't heard, and I'm not, carrying a flag on this deal. I keep waiting for somebody else to go, yeah, this, late in the season is probably when it needs to come up, because I think everybody's in the same boat. And it's like, what are we missing here? So.
you had Dante ready to go last year. You got a couple guys still that if something happens, you're going to have to pull out.
Well, you could be like that at every position. I mean, if it just starts happening at a certain position, what are you going to do? Got to play guys.
On those lines, who's number 3 at quarterback now? Has Ryan been practicing?
No, he is not. So, we're kind of figuring that out as we go.
Thomas Burback or as an emergency guy?
Yeah, we're figuring that out.
Last year's game between you and BYU was 7-6. You look for a few more points this year?
Well, yeah, I know if we have any hopes of winning, it's going to have to be more than what we scored last year. They got a heck of a squad. They really do. There's a lot of those guys that we played against last year that are back, and really good players. All-American type players, and this will be a big challenge for us. There's no question about it. And on defense, I think it's kind of always been Broncos baby there, and they play hard and they play fast and they're good. And on offense, they changed and really played to the quarterback's strengths, and he's hard to defend.
A couple weeks ago, we were talking about that injury to Chucky Keaton, and you said that you hope that you guys just don't have any injuries to the main positions like quarterback. So when it does happen to the signal caller, how much more difficult is it to have a guy really step up and not miss a beat there?
Well, yeah, that's hard for me to answer that question. I mean, there's no substitute for experience. But Grant's been doing a great job of preparing for a long time. And, he answered the bell with flying colors. I mean, and that's not an easy situation to be thrown in there, the snap of the fingers, and now you have to, basically know everything that we'd worked on, even though you probably didn't take every rep. But like I said, he's been here a long time. He understands what we're doing, and he'll do just fine.
On a week like that, how many reps does he get with the first team throughout practice?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have not counted the backup quarterback's reps, but I think our coaches do a good job of spreading the wealth because they know that you are a play at whatever position you're a play away. I think sometimes you have specialty plays that might be new things that the backup won't get because the starter needs all the reps on that because you're not going to get too many reps on it. So, but it'll be better that he's getting the majority.
Last year, Jason threw the ball 44 times, and he carried it 34.
Yeah.
Do those numbers sound crazy to you?
Yeah, and I think they had 131 total plays against Houston. I mean, those are a lot, but he's a warrior. I mean, he carries the ball like a running back, and he's got a very strong arm, and he's a tough guy to defend.
How do he and Hedrick compare in terms of that ability to just take off?
Well, both have good speed. What I think about Taysom is that he's like a running back. I mean, he's going to break tackles. Not only can he outrun you, but he's going to break tackles. I mean, they run him all different sorts of ways, and he doesn't bat an eye. I mean, he's kind of got that linebacker mentality, and he goes.
He seems like a pretty frustrating guy in the sense that, even if you get him into those third and long situations, he's picked up a lot of 10-plus yard runs on those.
Yeah, he's hard. The dual threat quarterbacks are hard, and again, he has no problem running it. I mean, that's certainly part of his game. Equally as much as throwing it, and he's just different than a lot of the running quarterbacks we've seen. A lot of those guys can scramble and move and get positive yards, but when he's going, he'll make you miss, but he's also, he's not going to go down. He's not going to go down with an arm tackle either.
What did Houston do to score 46 against them?
Well,
I was surprised.
Yeah, they had a lot of things line up for them. They returned the kickoff, and there was a lot of scoring in the first quarter/half, and then not much going on in the second half. But they hit a long pass that kind of looked like the offense. Houston did look like offensive pass interference to me. They picked one off and ran it back, so it was kind of some weird different stuff. And then they got a touchdown late where the quarterback scrambled around and found a guy, and then he reversed his feet. So it wasn't like they were marching down the field on these guys. I mean, they gave up 21 points a game and not a whole lot of yards. I mean, it is a very good, stout defense.
You guys obviously had trouble with it last year. What was it they did that gave you guys so much trouble?
They just get off blocks. They play really hard. You know, everybody's got a different scheme, and like I always say, the scheme works if you got some players and you coach it up. And they got players, and obviously they coach it up good, and so they know exactly what they want to do. But they got good players. They're very physical, and they just kind of keep coming after you.
Hill came in as their back, if I'm not mistaken, in that game.
Yep.
What is different about Hill then and now? How has he gotten better?
Well, I think they've created the whole system around him and his strengths. And he looks like he's a better thrower than he was last year. And so, I mean, I think that's it. I mean, they knew he was going to be their guy, and so they have quarterback design runs, quarterback read runs every different way. They get him on the edge, throwing the ball, and he can take off running it. So he does all those things to make it really
You said they
difficult.
built the whole system around his strengths. Post-game, you were talking about playing the strengths of your quarterback. Matt said he didn't expect the playbook to change a whole lot this week. Is that what you think as well, or are you going to cater more toward what Grant?
Well, we'll always cater towards the guys that's back there strength. But it'll be tweaks here and there. You know, it's not going to be a brand new offense or anything like that.
What do you think Grant maybe does a little better than Joe? And then
Well, he can run. He can run better than Joe. You know, we've said that since he's been here. I mean, he can really run. You guys saw that. So.
is there something, obviously Joe's experience, that is hard to replace?
Yeah, and Joe had, you know, has great command of our system and what we're trying to get done, and football in general, and defenses, and you know, so you know, a lot of teams are disguising coverages like BYU does, and you know, Joe was good at sniffing that stuff out and kind of knowing where to go with the ball.
You guys went vertical a lot with Joe, and he seemed to have success with that. Didn't do that as much with Grant in this game. Is that just one game, or do you
Yeah.
think, does he have the arm to go?
Oh
back?
yeah, yeah. I mean, Grant's got physical talent now that can run in his arm. I mean, he just needs more reps and more experience.
Now that he is the guy, does his running style change at all? Maybe.
Well, I always think that it should be like that. You know, I mean, I guess if you look at Taysom Hill, you shouldn't. I mean, he just runs guys over, and you know, just kind of looks at them when they get up and goes back to the line of scrimmage, and you're thinking, gosh darn, wish we didn't have to worry about that, because he doesn't worry about it. But you know, I think you got to be careful. You know, I mean, I think you get what you can get, and I think in that position for us, you know, we'd like to avoid hits if we could.
When he looked at the tape of Grant, scrambling and breaking away from the design play, did he make, for the most part, the right decisions in his first game?
You saw him running pretty fast up the field. Those are good decisions. I think everybody knows those are good decisions. So, yeah, he did a good job. He really did.
Where's he rank on the team in terms of quickness? I mean, he seemed really light on his feet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where he stacks up. You'd have to ask Coach Saul all that. But, you know, he's always been, you know, a fast guy. He really is.
Were you kind of shifting on the fly with Grant last week, whereas this week you can build a game plan around it?
Well, you know, we always think that all those, you know, first, second guys can handle it, and certainly there might be some things that, just with Joe's experience, that we lean towards more, and then if he's not in there, you know, might stay away just because of rep purposes and those things.
Thoughts on Tanner Vallejo? I remember you were particularly high on him during the fall.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I mean, I think you know, all of our linebackers are really making good progress. You know, I think Coach Gregory's doing a heck of a job coaching those guys. And, you know, the old guy is Blake, who's a junior, a true junior. He hasn't even been in there for a little bit. And all the other guys are, you know, freshmen, and I think they're all freshmen, and maybe a sophomore, like a true sophomore. So they're all young guys, but they all are getting better. We like them all. You know, I always marvel at a guy like Tanner when he's been here such a short time, and you know, it's a physical game, let alone all these different schemes that are thrown at you, and to be able to figure it out and play fast. That linebacker position is complicated. It's tough. I mean, there's a lot of different calls. There's a lot of different schemes but he's got really good instincts, and he's going to continue to get better.
What has Weaver done? I mean, every game seems like he calls his name 10, 12 times on tackles.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys. That's just, you know, I think when you're calling the linebackers, especially those young guys that have a lot of tackles. One, probably the guys up front are doing a decent job, but two, there's something. They have a little something to them. It's on top of just their coaching. They can figure things out rapidly, and they have those linebacker instincts. Sometimes when we're looking at guys, recruiting guys, and you see a guy that might play defensive end or an outside linebacker, and you're thinking, heck, he'd be looking pretty good looking defense or inside linebacker. Sometimes that's hard to really know because playing in the box, so to speak, is different. I mean, there's a lot of different looks, and certain guys take a long time to figure it out, and some guys can't really figure it out what's coming at them because if you hesitate, I mean, those big old 300-pounders are going to eat you up in a hurry.
You mentioned backup reps, and obviously Grant's going to need as many reps as he can get this week. But you've got a guy like Nick Patty who doesn't have the same experience that Grant had. Do you have to get him more reps as well, or do you just give them all to Grant?
I think our backups have always gotten pretty good reps. So, Grant, I think the process doesn't really change. Grant will, take the majority, but our backup quarterback gets good reps in practice.
That's more than he would have gotten before, though, for Nick, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, he'll get more reps.
Big couple of weeks for him to see if he can take a jump.
Well, it's good. I mean, it's you hate it when it happens to an injury for your teammate, and those guys are sick about it. But I mean, it makes practice more interesting, and it makes it better for those guys. I mean, they don't like to go out there and stand around. So now he's taking a lot of reps.
Thoughts on DeMarcus and just how dominant he was? Is he turning the corner? I mean, with the issues early in the season.
Yeah, he's playing at a high level, and it always helps when you get some defensive ends that can rush the passer and get off blocks. He's been doing a nice job.
Looking down the road, everybody rehashing the injury to Joe yesterday morning and how well Grant played and all of that. Said if there's a blessing there, you'll have an experienced quarterback coming back next year.
Yeah,
Thought of that?
yeah, no question, and not only for Grant but for Nick as well. I mean, both those guys as reps in the next, 5 weeks or whatever, just go up through the roof, and so all that's good. That's positive. There's no question about that.
If Joe is healthy, is he your starting quarterback?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean, the guy, he didn't have had surgery yet, and we'll just see how that goes. I mean, we'll get more information when he comes out of surgery.
Back to DeMarcus for a second. He's made his share of plays, but have you seen on tape, teams focusing on him and how that's opened up opportunities for maybe the other side of the defensive line and some of the linebackers to have success as well?
Well, I'm not sure if I've seen exactly that. I just think he's been playing at a high level. He's got a good motor, and he plays the game hard and plays it like it's supposed to be played.
Baggett has played most of the last 2 games. How's he adjusted out there?
He's making progress. He is. These are good reps for him as well. You hate it for Reese. I think Reese is playing really good, and but we need, it's just not how football goes. It doesn't go like the coaches want it to go. That I know, but I think he's making progress. I think Travis Averill's getting more snaps and more reps, and he may get in there a little bit as well.
Reese isn't long term.
No, he's the kind of a week-to-week guy.
A career best day for JHI. How important has he been, and do you think he needs to be moving forward with a new starter at quarterback?
Well, we always like to stay balanced. None of this philosophy changes at all, but he's been doing a nice job. I mean, he's a hard runner, and if our line can give him creases and get things started, usually finds seams and creases. It was good to see him hit a big crease, turn on the speed a little bit. He's kind of got some deceptive speed there a little bit, I think.
How much of a bid did Derek Thomas make to be the number 2 guy?
Well, and I think, Derek getting in there again, even though he's a junior college transfer, I mean, he's, in some ways to our system, he's like a freshman. Now he has a lot more reps than a freshman over the course of his career, but just the way we do things and, our style is different. But you can see him getting some confidence. It was nice to get him in there, and, even out of practice, you can tell he's starting to kind of take the next step.
With Grant being somewhat of a run threat, does that help the Giants? I think.
Well, yeah, I think it helps the whole offense. There's no question about that. Just kind of, there's a lot of read things that's going on, reading, running, reading, throwing the ball out to the perimeter, and
A lot of play action stuff.
play action. It all ties in for sure.
When you're looking at the number 2 back, does it matter? Like, do you look at what the starter does and then or what his style is, and then the backups, like, do you try to find one that complements him, like, you know, like a, I don't know, you just don't understand what I'm
No,
saying.
we just try to, we just try to find, the best players we can find, and, heck, when we bring guys in here, we never know who's gonna be the starter. We hope the guys we bring in can beat out the starter. So it's not like, oh, this guy'd be a good complement. I mean, you're just looking for productive players.
I just didn't know if like their style, if one's like faster, like a bruiser, if that matters as far as like when you're going to number 2 and you're looking at like Jack.
Not necessarily, just production.
Your 100th game as head coach this week at BYU. Describe the last 99.
Oh, that's been a
Yeah.
long.
Start with number 1.
Yeah, let me tell you my story.
Little log cabin.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's exactly like we tell our players, and our players just kind of, especially our old guys, shake their head and nod in agreement. It's like, in some ways, it seems like, that period of time went really fast, but the days are really long. Everything through that process. It's just such a grind. It just really is. It's just always a grind. So.
You a better coach now?
That's a great question. Gosh, you'd hope to think so. I know I have more experience for sure, and I don't know if I have a better answer, but I've seen, I know how each side, you make this decision, this is probably what's going to happen. You make that decision, that's probably what's going to happen. Now, which one do we want? Sometimes that's hard to figure out, but I've seen a lot of different, boy. I don't want to say I've seen it all, because every time I see that, it's like, okay. But I've seen a lot of things.
So what do you know going into game 100 that you didn't know going into game 1?
The job does not get easier. That's for sure.
You talked about the grind, coach. What's your favorite part? Getting up every day, coming to work.
Being with the guys, by far. Like being with our coaches, like being with the players. I do like practice. A decent amount if we don't get guys hurt in practice. We like studying tape, game planning, those type of things. And I thought about Fresno. And Mondays. Really fly out of bed on Monday mornings.
I guess the follow-up is 100 more.
Yeah, we go one at a time around here. That's how it is. One day at a time, one game at a time.
Is there something you know now that you wish you had known when you started that would have made life easier?
These are all hard questions. I'd have to really think about these. There's nothing that jumps out. I think the experience, there's no substitute for experience. I mean, just in anything you do, as our players, it's so nice to have experienced players. You can just operate faster. You don't have to, not everything is painstaking. And I think that as a coach, we have some really good young coaches, some of our GAs that are going to be, really good coaches. And, what do they need to do to take the next step? It's just, you just got to go through some trials and tribulations and get more experience. And I think that's with everything, everybody's job, you could say the same thing. It's just, there's no substitute for that experience. It just makes I think you can make faster decisions, hopefully wiser decisions.
How has the job here grown? Has it expanded? It seems to me it probably has.
Well, it has. Our staff, the support staff, you can't have more coaches, but the support staff has certainly grown, which has been awesome because you need it to handle everything that goes on the outside. In fact, you couldn't function if you didn't have them. It'd either be we'd have, a lot of people really mad at us because we just wouldn't be able to talk to them if we're going to coach football. So that's really been nice, but it's also more and bigger. There's stuff that comes with that I always go back to my days at Davis and just going, how did we do that there? I remember leaving after practice. I don't think we watched tape. Loved wearing New York Jets sweatshirts out to practice, or Michigan, and didn't think twice about it, and probably had a hat on that said Nebraska or something. And we just went and coached, and you were just there for the kids, and you just went hard. And so that is completely out nowadays, and I don't know why and how, but if everybody's not dressed appropriately,
Even at practice.
we stop practice and send them back in and all those things.
When you started your career here, your first game, you probably had some goals that you set for yourself and for your team and program. Have you reached a lot of those goals? And if there's some that you haven't, did you identify?
You know, I really did not set any goals. I mean, my goal was, hey, I'll give this thing a shot and, you know, see if I can stomach it 1 year and go from there. And that's really kind of how it's been. And, you know, things kind of work out sometimes how, you know, I don't know how they're supposed to, but, you know, I just think about that first year, a lot of, you know, timing is everything in life. And, you know, had a lot of good players and we were able to keep the system the same. And so it, you know, maybe if it wouldn't have worked so well right out of the gate, I'd be sitting there with you guys and doing the other thing, being an interviewer instead of the interviewee.
Can you see yourself coaching another 100 games?
Holy smokes! Ooh, this is like you know, the year in the life. I don't know. I was getting into this today. I don't know. Again, I just haven't been like that in terms of like, okay, what are our goals? We set our team goals. You know, I think all those things are really important. But for me, it's just always, you know, one season at a time, and go as hard as you can, and then kind of reevaluate.
You've played some tough teams over the years, but have you had a tougher challenge than as a staff than going into BYU with a backup quarterback?
I think this is. I think you're on it. I mean, I think BYU is really, really good, and with a lot of the guys, you know, just kind of how this season's gone with some injuries and stuff, I think this is a really, really tough challenge. And you know, I like our guys. I mean, I think they're focused guys and they practice hard, and you know, that's all we can do is prepare and practice hard, and then we just, you know, hopefully they really enjoy playing the game, and so then you just go play fast and with a smile on your face and just go.
Can you identify a best team you've ever played?
Best team we've ever played? That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that, you know, that Oklahoma team was pretty good. You know, we had to have a lot of things kind of line up just right to get that done, but there's been a lot of good teams that we've played. There's no question. I mean, I think you guys know them as well as I do. I mean, there's been a lot of good teams.
Does your favorite there's 10 losses in there and 89 wins? Do you remember the 89 wins or are the 10 losses?
No, I know the losses. Yeah, I know the losses.
All right, guys.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Sorry about that. I couldn't